Okay, are we ready to start soon? I guess, I think we are about to start. We have all the panelists on stage. Okay. Um, good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this session at the UN Egypt Pavilion. So just to say thank you to the UN office in Egypt for hosting us and allowing us to be part of this conversation. Thank you very much. So my name is Tariq Mtaira. I'm the director of the Decarbonization and Sustainable Energy at UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. And I'm going to be your host for the evening conversation. This is a very important conversation. It comes on Decarbonization Day. And this morning we had the pleasure of listening to the opening session of the day, where the Ministry of Petroleum and Oil and the Ministry of Industry and Trade outlined the vision for the conversation that we need to take forward out of COP27. And I think it's a very important message that the urgency, the speed, and the opportunities for businesses and for industry to leapfrog and to deliver global climate and environmental benefits. And of course, the challenges. We have many challenges in that context. And I think we wanted to focus this session on the experience of Egypt, because we really, Egypt has a lot to share in terms of lessons learned in driving change in the local Egyptian industry, and in also setting ambitious programs and plans. There were ups and there were downs, of course. We have to be also very frank. So we wanted to dig deeper into the challenges, but also the government, at least, has been consistently putting in motion different programs and initiatives. And we had a long partnership between UNIDO and the Egyptian government, the various ministries, on catalyzing change in industrial behavior, driving adoption of decarbonization technologies, starting historically with the idea of, can we improve efficiency, can we deliver more efficient manufacturing processes. So there is a history of activities, a history of lessons taken, and a history of messages that we can build on to move forward. So in that context, we have invited a lot of distinguished panelists that have been also had a long history and experience of working in the context in Egypt, and working with Egyptian industry in driving this change. So I am going to just introduce my panel here, take a moment to introduce the panel joining us in this. I would like to start with Mr. Ahmed Rida, who is the Associate Minister for Industrial Affairs at the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Egypt. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. And then Dr. Ahmed Huzayim. Dr. Ahmed Huzayim is the director of the Eco-Industrial Department in the Chemonics Egypt Consultants. Joining us also Ms. Huda Sabri, next to me. I know Ms. Huda Sabri for many years. She is a finance and banking expert. We relied on her expertise many years back to design some of the innovative financing scheme for industrial energy efficiency in Egypt. Welcome to the panel, Dr. Huda. And joining us, Dr. Mohammed Salahuddin. Dr. Mohammed Salahuddin works as a quality engineer and excellence general manager at CEPTEC. Yeah. So welcome to the panel, and we'll give you the chance to explain more on this. And finally, joining, of course, Dr. Jiham Bayoumi, who is the UNIDO National Project Officer for energy based here in Cairo. And of course, an external guest joining us from familiar with the Egyptian ecosystem, but from a neighboring country. Okay, Engineer Fathi Hanshi, welcome. I know Engineer Fathi for many years. We worked together on a number of initiatives and collaboration between Egypt and Tunisia. Welcome to us. And so I'm moving from the country then to the neighbor country, and now regionally I want to introduce Dr. Jawad Al-Kharraz, who is Managing Director or Executive Director of the Regional Center for Renewable Energy Efficiency. Welcome, Dr. Jawad, and pleasure to have you all with us on this panel. So this is a conversation. I'm not going to sort of and it's important to reflect informally and formally on some of the lessons learned. So we are focusing on Egypt and the experience in Egypt, and what can we draw from that experience, because Egypt is a very important country in terms of being an emerging economy, growing. There's a lot of industry, but it's also it has challenges with the energy and opportunities with the energy sector. And so the lessons that we can derive from here, we can actually scale up and replicate on a continental scale, but also on a broader global scale. With this note in mind, I want to start the conversation and invite Mohandes Ahmed to kick us start from the government perspective on sort of the journey that you have taken. How was it so far? What are the experience of working with UNIDO and the UN, an international organization, to kickstart some of these, and some of your reflections on the journey of working with Egyptian industry from the governmental perspective side and its pathway to decarbonize. So,
thank you, Tore, and thank you, UNIDO, for the invitation. And honestly, I think I can. It could take me hours just explaining the great cooperation that we've had throughout the years. But I think when we discuss what the government has been doing over the years, we definitely started with the mindset by changing the industrial mindset in Egypt. When we started off with this, this was in 2005, when we established the ENCPC, the Egyptian National Cleaner Production Center, in collaboration with the UNIDO, actually. The main reason behind the establishment of the center was to complete the cycle of the sectoral technology and innovation centers. So now we're looking at the first true cross-cutting resource efficiency related center within the Egyptian industry. The main role was first to, like I said, to change the mindset. That had to come in throughout the technical assistance and the technical support provided, but even more importantly was the policy support that came behind all of these projects. So throughout the years, we've been very much focusing on the resource efficiency and the cleaner production. And then we were able to change many of the Egyptian industrial sector from the brown field into an eco field, hoping that we will move further into a greener field in the near future. And maybe this is why the decarbonization is taking a very much stronger support right now, even on the governmental level. That being said, it's important to know that throughout the years, we've had not less than 20 projects with the UNIDO and other developing partners. Basically, we were always focusing on the resource efficiency, the waste management, the green chemicals, and of course, the industrial renewable application. So this is, if we look at over the years, many of the policies that came out and the decrees that came out, our involvement in the new waste management law and the environment law has been coming from building up the experience over the years and having a true application on the ground, and it's not anymore something only related to a theoretical or a desk study. We're basing this on the amount and the thousands, hundreds of thousands probably now of the walkthroughs that we've done, of the assessments and the energy assessment. Don't want to take more on this question, so thank you for now.
No, thank you for this, and I think you also gave us a bit of a sense of context in terms of the history and the policy environment that has evolved with time. And I think we probably being familiar a little bit with the industrial transformation that has taken place here. There has been a lot of efforts on the low-hanging fruits, improving energy performance, as you mentioned, and energy efficiency in the manufacturing process. I think now we are looking at a leapfrogging in terms of benchmarks. So I've listened to conversation this morning about, can we get industry toward low carbon, net zero manufacturing base, but it's going to be a tough challenge. So that could be also one topic we could pick up on later. But I would like to shift the conversation in terms of where does Egypt fit in a comparative context in terms of the landscape for decarbonizing industry. And I wanted to draw on the expertise of Dr. Jawad, because you have been doing a lot of analysis on this market. So maybe you can sort of share with us perspective on, are we doing enough regionally in the region? Where are some of the opportunities that we could build on more? Sort of how we progressed in the last 5 years and what we can do more on this area?
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. Thanks, UNIDO. Thanks, UN Egypt, for hosting us today here. Good evening. So indeed, I'm the Executive Director of RECREAD, Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. We are an intergovernmental organization based in Cairo. So obviously, we work more in the host country, not only because it's a host country, but also because the magnitude of the industry and of the Egyptian economy. So obviously, we have much more project in Egypt than other countries. But obviously, we work on a regional perspective. So we work with all the member states, 17 Arab countries. When it comes to decarbonization of the industrial sector, obviously, there are many opportunities, there are challenges. We are proud of our cooperation with UNIDO. The last project, I think we managed the Industrial Energy Efficiency Fund in Egypt. So we got in contact with 36 companies, industries, to do the energy auditing. It was really a very interesting experience. Also, we have been promoting the solar water heaters in the region. We have very good experience in Tunisia. So one of the roles also of RECRE is to transfer of knowledge and promoting the good practices. So in this regard, so some countries are having success stories. In this case, maybe Fatih Al-Hanshi could talk more about the experience of Egypt, the Tunisia on that. But I wanted to highlight that we had really a very good cooperation with the Tunisian Agency of Energy Efficiency in promoting solar water heaters and also decarbonizing the building sector. So as you know, building is one of the construction sector is one of the sectors that contribute to more than 40% or 29% of the greenhouse gas emissions. So right now we have one regional project funded by the EU, MeetMed project, is about energy efficiency in building and appliances. So in this regard, so we work on the policy level. So we do benchmark of policies in the 8 countries: Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, and Lebanon. We work on legislation. Sometimes we have.
You mentioned the benchmark in the policy environment. Where are the marks in that benchmark? So how the countries come across?
Yeah, there is a contrast. Obviously, there are different kind of policies. Some countries have the right setup institutionally, so that is reflected in the policies. Some have, less. Maybe you need to improve the governance in terms of legislation. Some of them have codes. Sometimes there are national code, but it's not enforced. So this is a challenge actually. Then when it comes to financing, also there is an issue. So sometimes access to finance is a real issue for some of these countries. So we do work on capacity building. Trying to support these countries in getting access to green finance, how to get access to financing. Then when it comes to decarbonizing other sectors, so I know now the trend is, for example, the green hydrogen. So I know for heavy energy consuming sectors like the steel industry, or fertilizer, or cements, obviously could be an interesting option for these sectors to, which are hard to abate, in terms of CO2 emissions. And I also just want to highlight that the opportunities, obviously, opportunities in the region from our analysis, the integration of the solar heating systems in the industrial processes, so like the agro-food, pharmaceutical, textile industries. Obviously, this was initiated by UNIDO and the ship project in Egypt, where the potential is very huge and promising. Another opportunity is the implementation of the energy management systems according to international standards and practices. So in this regard, we do a lot. We are promoting standards and certification. So in terms of monitoring energy flows, identifying real and important saving in terms of energy consumption and CO2 emissions, and also, all what's related to recovery systems and industrial waste management, integration of renewable energy definitely in the sector. So it's going to contribute to decarbonization of the industrial sector, not only industrial sector but transport also, and the construction sector. So this is briefly, overview of the perspective of decarbonization in the region. But again, some countries are in the front. I think objectively, Egypt are doing a lot, and obviously still some challenges that need to be, probably we can discuss further during this session. Some countries have probably a lot to learn from pioneer countries like Tunisia and Egypt in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jawad. I know that you refrained from giving the exact index parameters, but but no, I think very important that you highlighted also where the parameters of policy environment to enable a change in the behavior of industry toward more investment in energy efficiency and decarbonization technologies. You referred to some projects, you referred to some technologies. Maybe it's a good transition now to move more granular on the Egypt context, and then I would like to invite Dr. Jihan Yumi, our national program manager, because she can maybe provide just to bring everyone up to date in terms of the extent of coverage of these projects. What do they cover in terms of technologies, and your overall sort of assessment of how far we gone in terms of delivering impacts on the ground.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tariq, for the introduction and for the question. Yes, very happy to have led the UNIDO program on energy starting 2012 till today through various programs and projects that we are currently implementing. We were aiming at serving the industrial sector in Egypt through various interventions, helping them to move towards clean energy transition and decarbonization, helping them to minimize the use of conventional fuels, introducing renewable energy technologies, helping them to be more competitive and resilient, and creating, of course, jobs, empowering women in this sector, and all those aspects. Along the last 10 years, I think that we have achieved a lot of achievement that I can mention few here. We have supported the industrial sector, and we have worked with more than 70 energy intensive companies in order to introduce the energy management concepts and the energy efficiency measures. We help them to reduce their energy consumption dramatically, and yes, we do have very good feedback from those energy intensive sector. Of course, the aim is to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. We have also supported the policy on energy efficiency for the government. We have recommended like a set of policy recommendations on energy efficiency, and we have also supported the government to develop the benchmarking reports for various energy intensive sectors like the steel, cement, like the fertilizers and the ceramics. Having clear data sets is very important because the decision maker have to rely on those data sets. So this piece of work has helped the government, I believe, towards having clear data sets that they can rely on. Also, of course, we have built a recognizable pool of local caliber, local energy experts, exceeding 800 persons now. Those consultants are capable to provide necessary support for this country and even abroad. Also, we have moved towards the system optimization approach, introducing motor system optimization, compressed air system optimization, pump system optimization to industry. And this also has benefited the sector a lot. On the other side, on the renewables, we have helped the market to grow on renewables through the diffusion of and local manufacturing of solar energy system for industrial process heat in Egypt. We have developed a roadmap for expanding local manufacturing for solar water heater. We now have almost an accredited laboratory established in Naria to test the quality of the solar water heater components. We have trained more than 20 banks on how to fund this type of projects. So yes, there is a lot that has been made. The regional cooperation also with Tunisia has been of benefit to Egypt in the solar water heater area. Currently, also we're working on introducing a new business model for encouraging the establishment of energy service companies and initiating an ESCO market in Egypt. And I think I will stop here.
Thank you, Jihan. You gave a broad coverage of the programs that you need to have hand with the government on motivating the industry to adopt energy efficiency. And you've been in this space for the last 12 years. Maybe I can ask you a follow-up question quickly, a quick answer. Have you seen any, did you see a change of perspectives from the industry on the relationship to the opportunities and the value of energy efficiency? Sort of, what is the perception that have you seen a change in the attitude over time? You think it's still the same effort? Where do you see the changes?
Of course, there is a great change that has happened because at the company level, I think that they have benefited out of receiving our technical services in terms of reducing their energy consumption, in terms of changing the culture inside the companies, changing the behavior, making, the upper management till the workers understand what is the importance of this resource, the energy resource, I mean. So yes, there is a high impact of this program for the sector that we serve, yes.
So there is a greater awareness, at least as a driver of change among the industry. We observe today when you speak to industry leaders, the appetite and the acceptance completely different than if you was spoken to them 10 years ago.
True.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think I want to move to Mohandes Fathi Hanchi because Jihan mentioned the solar water heating program, and I know how challenging it was to promote solar water heating as a renewable energy option or as an energy efficiency option for industry. And even not only in Egypt, but I know that it has been a challenge to promote the business case for solar water heaters application, particularly in industry, in many neighboring countries. But Tunisia stood out in that context because you have had a very strategic approach, holistic approach, and maybe you can shed some light on the opportunity to learn from the experience in Tunisia, and how can that be built into some of the collaboration that you see or the collaboration opportunities you see with Egypt and other countries in the region.
Thank you, Dr. Tarek. I have a very bad English, so I prefer to speak Arabic.
عربي بنمشيها.
شكرا على الاستضافة. الحقيقة في تونس التجربة بتاع تنمية استعمال السخانات الشمسية تجربة أعطت نتيجة كبيرة، وإحنا في الفترة اللي فاتت كنا احتفلنا ببلوغ 1,000,000 متر مربع من السخانات الشمسية المركزة في القطاع السكني. وهالنتيجة هذه جاءت بعد ما تم تصميم آلية خصوصية لتطوير الأجهزة هذه، واللي مكنت من إحداث نسيج صناعي وخدماتي متطور. وهذايا الحقيقة الدولة كانت عندها دور كبير في الموضوع هذايا، لكن في نفس الوقت هذا الكل يرجع للقطاع الخاص الحقيقة. علاش؟ على خاطر فما ناس جازفت واستثمرت في الميدان هذايا، وكانت من أول الناس اللي دخلوا للقطاع هذا وحاولوا يطوروه ونجحوا في الآخر بدعم من الدولة من خلال تصميم الآليات هذه اللي مكنت من تطوير السوق. نجيو لهنا للقطاع الصناعي وكيفية الاستفادة من أجهزة تسخين المياه. اليوم النتائج اللي خلطنا لها على مستوى القطاع الصناعي وعلى مستوى القطاع الخدماتي وخاصة النزل توري وأنه فما إمكانات كبيرة على مستوى القطاعات هذه في مصر على مستوى تطوير استعمال السخان الشمسي. إمكانات كبيرة، وكذلك إمكانات كبيرة على مستوى القطاع الصناعي المصري اللي يقدر يتأقلم سريعا مع التكنولوجيا هذه، ويقدر يصنع التكنولوجيا بطريقة ممكن تكون أكثر نجاعة وأكثر مردودية من القطاع الصناعي التونسي. ذاك علاش الفترة اللي فاتت كان فما زيارة تبادل خبرات، وتم خلالها معناتها الاتفاق مع بعض المصنعين التوانسة والمصريين على التعاون لتطوير منتوج ثنائي في الميدان هذا. اليوم عندنا إمكانية كبيرة باش نتعاونوا لتطوير سوق السخانات الشمسية في مصر.
Thank you, Mohandas Hanshi, and I think you highlighted an important parameter in terms of the role of the government or the regulating bodies in trying to create a more comprehensive ecosystem for the industry to engage in the value chain of delivering solar water heating systems and enabling environment for the industry. And you mentioned the achievement in Tunisia in terms of reaching 1 million square meters of deployed solar water heating systems. And you pointed out also to the opportunities to create strategic joint venture partnerships between the established manufacturing base in Tunisia and emerging manufacturing base in Egypt. And these partnerships can by doing these kind of partnerships, you can accelerate the uptake and deployment of these technologies or create what's called a service market, a delivery and service market rather rapidly in the Egyptian market, which is very important. Because I know that when I used to work here, there was always a challenge to find quality, locally manufactured systems. But I see the parameters of that ecosystem is now working convergently toward addressing these barriers through regional collaboration and the initiatives to create a regional quality mark through the regional center as well was mentioned earlier. I want to zoom a little bit on the challenges of financing, and I think we can tap into two expertise here. One, I think the ESCO market is both a business model market and a financing market, and the role of local banks. So I want to start with Dr. Huda. quickly to maybe, I know that we have worked 5 years ago on schemes for lending and providing credit enhancement facilities for energy efficiency investments. And there was a bit of resistance from the local banking sector. Has the perception changed over time, over the last 2 years? Are we in a better position today?
I'm sure we are, Dr. Tariq. But let me tell you something that, well, anyway, I'm a finance person, but I like to work with engineers because they usually have a lot of innovations and easy solutions for all problems. Finance is a bit more rigid. But anyway, what you just mentioned, working early on energy efficiency financing, energy efficiency investments, actually made use, this was the earliest intervention in the market in order to start green financing in that sense without exactly the term green. But what helped this package the most was the UNIDO project, the industrial energy efficiency project, because what happened was, bankers, they are used, of course, to financing any kind of investment, but they need something that is well described, well analyzed technically, so that they can go ahead and analyze it financially and be able to submit it to their credit committees in order for them to discuss and then object and then rediscuss and then finally maybe approve or disapprove. So what happened with the IEE, UNIDO's IEE project, was that they set up the stage and they packaged excellent projects in energy efficiency, which we took afterwards to that program that we worked together on, and the banks found it very easy and simple in order for them to prepare their credit case and submit it to their management and get approvals, and we really struck a number of successes, and I'm sure Jihan also remembers that. So that was one, that was the first case. After that, the energy efficiency became a very fluent term with the bankers in the market. That was the pilot project, and it was an excellent integration between the UNIDO and the other donor that was, with whom we worked for the financing part. Because the IIE, if you remember, did not include a financing part. It was more technical and awareness raising. Now, the second thing is that, as I said, maybe financing is a bit more rigid than engineering. But it is very important that we can find the bank. All the banks are, of course, looking for their bottom lines, but it is important to find the bank that has the mentality in order to be a bit more flexible and to accept solutions that will be pilots and help in the future in probably replicating success stories. That's what's happening with the current UNIDO projects for the solar thermal, the solar heaters. For industry, perhaps it is a bit more sophisticated because it needs, not like Engineer Fathi said, for the residential sector, which is more straightforward. But for industry, it needs a custom-tailored plan and study, and it differs from one industry to the other and from one factory and company to the other. So that really takes a lot of challenge in addressing the financial investment part. But here I have to praise the largest bank in Egypt, which is National Bank of Egypt, who accepted to develop an innovative financial package, financial facility that would support the solar thermal projects, and not only for the number of the pilot, but also to double that number by integrating both the financing from the bank and the financing from the fund that was established by UNIDO. So actually we reached an excellent program in the end that we are still going through.
So the message, Dr. Huda, is basically investing in capacity building in the banking sector pays off at the end. So I like your statement that the term energy efficiency and decarbonization of industry becomes so fluid that they understand the risks, they understand the technology risks, And I think that's was the failure of historic old kind of technical assistance project, is that we never paid attention to the capacity building in the financial side of the equation. But that's an important message to pass on. And I continuing on the same thing, and I think we have also learned that some of the challenges of getting credits and financing to the energy efficiency investment is, of course, the disaggregation of the market, the fragmentation of the market, and so we've been looking always for different business models to bring scale to the market, and the ESCO model, the energy service company model, was one that has been piloted and tested in different regions globally, with successes and failures in different conditions. We have tried some efforts here in Egypt. What do you think is the uptake, Doctora?
So, first of all, I think when it comes to energy efficiency and resource efficiency, I think in Egypt we are a little overwhelmed and happy by the great successes. And I think Dr. Jan is so kind, because in 2012 we were kicked out of the factories when we talked about energy efficiency. And we recently did a survey with UNIDO for in 2015. The awareness of the concept of energy efficiency was 5%. Now it's 80% by the factory. So, but I think we're still scratching the surface. Just to give you a feeling of the magnitude, we've done this with Dr. Jihan. There is maybe $600 million of green finance in the market. We need $8 billion annually on 10 years to reach the industry average in energy efficiency. I'm talking, of course, maybe these projects are, some of them are, this is just projects that are 5 years payback. So we're scratching the surface, but we have a very strong platform to stand on now. I think the first layer of a successful energy efficiency market, not just projects, is there, which is the banks are aware. There is expertise in the banks, different banks. Public sector is playing different roles. NCPC has really opened this market through measurements. I got my knowledge through courses in the NCPC with UNIDO. It opened up the market. The industry is aware. But now I think for this market to flourish, we need to push a little bit on policy, but also we need diversity in the business delivery services. Now, I think a missing link is the technology providers. We forgot the banks, but now we are forgetting the technology providers. That takes us to the fact that a lot of companies in the market, and there are some technologies where direct lending or direct borrowing by the beneficiary is not the best. There is some risk that the bank will never be willing to take, and an intermediary would be happy to take it or look at it differently. It's sort of similar when the bank lends an NGO and the NGO delivers microfinance to smallholders. So there is a big segment in the market where this modality of the ESCO would be a very good channel to deliver the finance. I think before, like there were endeavors in Egypt 10, 15 years ago, exemplary project. It didn't manage to kick off this market because of the energy prices. So that was one barrier. That is gone. The knowledge now is gone or available. The banks are willing. Now the missing piece, and this is the biggest problem, is that the ESCO market is a market built on trust. You cannot get anything wrong in it. It's a triangle between an end user, the ESCO, and the bank. And if any of these links are off, it doesn't work. There are, sometimes when we offer the energy consultancy service, we do turnkey with a guarantee. But basically, we only do this if the factory owner is the friend of the company founder, you know, because of the trust. So I think now is the right moment. I think factories, there is a segment that the bank, you will not compete with the bank. The technology providers can do it. There is a risky segment that other companies can capture. There are companies that doesn't want to have on their balance sheet a debt, you know, an ordinated debt. So what is missing now, I think, is the regulatory aspects. Certification schemes, type of contracts, and of course awareness, and then it's up to the private sector to take the risk. So I believe the time is, it might be the right moment finally.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. And then I see you have a lot of task ahead of you, Mohandas Ahmed. If you want to react quickly on some of the
No, I think this is right, and I think this shows that finally we have a common goal and the same path. Maybe through the past year alone, we have been working intensively on actually diversification of the types and the business, the services, and the business delivery itself. So based on that, I think that came also through our trip to Tunisia when we met with Dr. Fathi there, and we saw how are they going to be moving and developing the technology when it comes to the solar heaters, but also it was also the diversification of the beneficiaries. So now we're looking not only at factories, but we're looking at the manufacturing side from our side to do the manufacturing of the solar water heaters, but we're looking also at hotels, and we're looking at domestics and urban planning in general. So now the market is bigger, which gives a better opportunity for the manufacturers to start investing more into this, and we can actually get the ball rolling when it comes to the fund that we already have, for instance, right now with the National Bank of Egypt. It's also important to understand that right now we're, for instance, launching an IWAX platform. Now, the IWAX platform is going to be an industrial waste platform where we're going to be exchanging the waste between factories, and it's basically for agro and industrial products. Now, we try to make sure that we have the right partners on board. So the first thing we did is that we brought in the research and development institutions to make sure that we're doing the most added value for this kind of waste. We actually stopped calling it waste. We call it a byproduct right now. And we now, our policy is to work with the byproduct until the byproduct becomes a product. And then we know it's going to create another problem because everyone will be looking for the waste. So this is the first stage. We're launching it right after COP. We launched it, but we're launching the portal right after COP. But we're also going to be the carbon trading will also take place through this through the same portal. So the waste is no more a waste only; it's a product or a byproduct, and we can do an exchange of carbon credits between the companies themselves. So I think the road to decarbonization has already started, but I think we're kind of trying to get there. Maybe we started late, but we always finish in the right time. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ahmed. I mean, I think the point that Dr. Ahmed raised is very important one also in terms of scaling up the market for energy efficiency and decarbonization product. You touched on some missing gaps in the value chain, the manufacturing, creating platforms, but also the regulations that could create the space for large service providers like ESCO model, that the framework to move that to a scale in terms of investments. So you want a market that operates on its own parameters without the intervention of UNIDO or international partners. We need to move to the next stage. So energy efficiency now is out of the way. Now we need to go to the more difficult markets where still the markets are not there, or more difficult technologies where the markets are not there. I want to move to Dr. Muhammad Salah, and I kept you last for purpose, not because you're the only industry here, so you have listened. I brought everyone to talk, so the truth lies in the one that tries the most. So you're operating in the Egyptian market, you're an industry, and you've heard about the change of perceptions and attitudes about investing in energy efficiency. What helped you? What didn't help you? I would like your reflections on this.
Thank you,
Dr. Tariq. Thank you for having me in this panel. And actually, I'm happy to represent the industry, the other side of the story, because here in the industry, we realize what is done in the other entities, in the consultant side and in regional organization and in the government and the finance. This is where all the actual and tangible benefits are realized in the industry. I'm working in CEDBIC. CEDBIC is the short name or abbreviation of CD Clear Petrochemical Company. We are working as the first producer of polyethylene. We started our journey with UNIDO since 2013 with the project, IEE project, Industrial Energy Efficiency in Egypt. And actually, we were the first company between the beneficiaries that was certified for the energy management system ISO according or in compliance with the ISO standard ISO 50001. And I think it was the foundation of all other working and other evolution of this measured of energy efficiency and so on. Let me tell you a little bit about where we are now. Now we are already working with the energy efficiency and energy management system, and we have a matured energy management system in the company. This was the cause of a lot of other benefits that we are gaining now. For example, we are now committed to the SBTI, the Science-Based Target Initiative, and we have a target for around 20% of the greenhouse gas emissions to be reduced in the next 5 years. But at this time, the 20% is not from only scope 1, but from scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions. And this is a very challenging and very ambitious target. How we reach it to have the bold decision to be committed in such initiative, this is because after we finished all the low cost and no cost opportunities in energy efficiency field improvement, we find that we need a lot of another step to use another tools, to use another advanced tools. So we hired an international consultant, KBC Yokogawa, and this consultant delivered a roadmap to have using another tool, a benchmarking tool and simulation software tools. These tools differentiate our perspective for energy efficiency improvement, and we have some medium cost project and some high capex projects, and we are working on them all now. This is the evolution of our cooperation with UNIDO, and without our cooperation with UNIDO and we having a mature energy management system, I believe that energy management system is a very important and essential step to have a real improvement in energy efficiency field. Let me, this is somehow what we have achieved now, but let me tell you some about the milestones in the journey since 2013 up till now. Some of them was the learning process with the consultants and the experts of the energy management system, the international experts. In 2013, the market in Egypt has no awareness about the energy management system. So we were badly in need for the international experts at that time to learn from them and to know how to implement. And actually we have We had a good experience with them. We still remember them and remember, and also we have also another point provided by UNIDO regarding the documents and the tools and the experience. These tools are already valid up till now, although the standard itself is changed, but the tools is still valid. This is another point. And also we have in our success story with UNIDO, we have another part regarding the peer-to-peer network. If I have more time, I can elaborate about this.
No, but I think you touched on a very important point, the milestones. From your perspective as an industry or industrial actor, when you speak to your peers, do you see a difference between the journey that you have taken and your peers? Is there an exchange of that experience? And if you are to approach an investment decision on energy efficiency technology in your firm, would you think about it differently today than previously?
Sure. We actually, as Dr. Ahmed said, this is about the mindset and the culture. The culture change and the mindset, the new mindset that respects the energy efficiency and respects working through the climate action and decarbonization now. This is completely different. But from the perspective of industry, actually, to convince the business sector must be a real benefit for the profit, not only the environment. So this is what we already realized. And regarding the other peers, we worked from, I think, since 2015, we built the first peer-to-peer network with UNIDO to transfer the knowledge gained to other peers in the petrochemical sectors. And it was a very interesting experience and very useful experience that has a real impact. In SEDBIC, we were only two qualified energy experts. And we, after this peer-to-peer network, already these two experts qualified around more than 22 or 24 experts in other sister companies in petrochemical fields. And we also replicate this now in 2021, replicate the peer-to-peer network, but with a broader scope. We have working with not only the sister companies in petrochemical industries, but we go through the supply chain, and we are building a new peer-to-peer network with the customers in our customers in plastic sector. So we expand the previous experience to go through the supply chain and to demonstrate somehow our concern about Scope 3 emissions.
Beautiful, beautiful to hear that. I mean, I think this is where actually industry, they listen to their peers. So a peer network is an impressive way to channel the learning and to also nudge other partners. Yeah, I think, and I know I have five more minutes in the session. Is challenging because I want to zoom a little bit on the future and say what's next. What is more? What do we need to do in terms of raising ambition? Because we need to raise ambition. It's not enough to do the 20% low-hanging fruit. We need to raise ambition to get to net zero. So I want to invite Dr. Jawad, because you've been benchmarking sort of some of the gaps in the policy environment. Maybe just briefly, some of the key priority policy measures that we need to put regionally at the region and in Egypt in particular. Generally, from your experience, from your benchmarking side, what are the key policy initiatives that we need to start working on?
Thank you very much. One of the most important things I can highlight here is for example, the upcoming EU carbon tax. So obviously the industrial sector in our region is not all aware of this. So we need, to get them ready for this, obviously to not lose competitiveness when it comes to exporting our products and services to the European Union. So I think a lot of work needs to be done at the level of awareness mentioned earlier and capacity building. So I think this is very important because if we don't really move, fast, as I said, we will lose market.
Imagine an Arab regional carbon market. Or is it that's impossible?
Yeah, it looks
Like the European carbon market, because that would create really the opportunity for industry to move fast.
Absolutely, yeah. No, it looks really.
It's a deeper market than if you do just one country market. No,
absolutely. You know, I think it's a very ambitious, objective. But I think we last time we discussed it with the colleagues from INMO, with Fathi and also Mohammed Khayyat and others. I think we need to do something in this regard. I mean, it could be, initiatives that we can definitely support and agree. It could be definitely, an ambitious objective, but we need to act fast because it's coming in 2-3 years to be applied, and the connection in the EU markets. A lot of sectors will be affected, in particular industrial sector that are having product to export to the European Union. So I agree that it's difficult, but it's not impossible.
Okay, fantastic. No, Ahmed.
So I think in terms of capturing more opportunities, I think the word diversity and comprehensive approach. I think diversity, we need to capture SMEs, we need to capture more sectors, we need to have more diverse finance modalities such as the ESCO. But in terms of comprehensive, I think we need to focus our approach. Although from a private sector perspective, as a consultant, I don't want a lot of competition, but if this market grows, no one can capture how much opportunity there is. So we need to act as catalysts. I think the mindset of the last 10 years was that we acted as a demonstrator, like in development projects. Now we need to act as a catalyst. What is the plug-in? Is there a certification need? Give you an example, monitoring and verification as a business. It's not there. How can you have like a growing rapid market with the banking and without knowing what this is? So I would say we need to act as a catalyst, catalyze the critical things in the market system. The market system is if there is a gap, and you push somewhere else, then things do not materialize. So the catalyst, I would say, is
Jihan, you have your task ahead of you now. You have to start working on the gaps, monitoring, verification, and reporting at firm level and national inventory, getting a carbon market tax and regime in the region, because without price on carbon, industry will not move to the big emission reduction targets. But I'll give you the floor to say any few ideas. You've probably been thinking a lot about what's next in terms of the role of international collaboration in Egypt. So what's on the agenda of international organizations, not only UNIDO, but generally where international development collaboration can add value in the next phase, in the next challenge?
Thank you, Dr. Tariq. I think in my view that we have to start building on the current momentum which is taking place right now. We have to build on the government commitment moving towards clean energy transition. Also, we have to build on the existing cooperation that we do have, great cooperation that we do have with the various ministries, like the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Electricity, Petroleum, Federation of Egyptian Industry, the base that we have created. We have to start building on this. And in my view, that it's very important to start formulating new programs on decarbonization, especially for energy intensive sectors in general, trying to come up with various roadmaps, encouraging green public procurement, etc. So this is the way ahead in my view, as well as building on the regional complementarity that we have currently with Tunisia, trying to think about projects at a regional scale to scale up the experience that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jihan. Final word from you, Mr. Hanshi.
شكرا دكتور طارق. حسب رأيي الحيادية الطاقية ما هيش بعيدة. 2050 احنا في اخر التسعينات كنا ننظروا ل 2020 بعيده ياسر، لكن اليوم تجاوزنا 2020 ونفكروا في الفتره الجايه، وذاك علاش من توا يلزمنا نحضروا الحياديه التقيه. حسب تقديري التكنولوجيا الحاليه وصلت لحدودها وما تنجمش تزيد تضيف اكثر. اليوم يلزمنا نخمموا في حلول اخرى واللي نجموا نقدروا ننفذوهم مع بعضنا، واللي من خلال الحلول هذه نقدروا نطوروا اكثر استعمال الطاقات المتجدده في القطاع الصناعي. وقت اللي نقولوا ديكربونيزيشن نتاع القطاع الصناعي ما تنجمش تصير بالتكنولوجيا الحاليه. نت زيرو عام 2050 ما تنجمش تصير بالتكنولوجيا الحاليه. المهم اليوم هو انه نشتغلوا اكثر على كيفيه تجميع الوسائل الصناعيه وكيفيه احداث مناطق صناعيه اللي يكون فيها اكثر امكانيه استعمال الطاقات المتجدده. هذاك علاش الفتره الجايه باش نشتغلوا مع الاخيان في الجانب المصري، وزاد حكينا زاد مع الاخيان في الجانب الاردني انه نعملوا مشروع نموذجي لإنتاج وتوزيع الوسائل في المناطق الصناعية باستعمال الطاقات المتجددة، واللي باش يعطي إمكانية كبيرة أنه تصير فما ديكربونيزيشن نتاع القطاع الصناعي إن شاء الله.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you pointed out the importance of thinking in terms of scale, thinking at the industrial cluster level, looking at a system approach, which is actually very important. We are thinking actually, UNID is already looking at an opportunity in South Africa where we're looking at how do you actually tackle all the opportunities at the industrial cluster, industrial state or industrial park, where you have integrated energy delivery based on renewables and looking at closing material and energy cycles through synergies between different industries. So, and then you highlighted one important message is that we need to shift ambition from the low-hanging fruit that we have done to more advanced technologies, go for the ones that are not yet on the market, create pilots for them, let them come into the picture. Dr.
Yes, one last word. Well, we also have to be fair to the banks and the financial institutions because they're now working in a market that does not have, as Dr. Hussain said, that does not have any benchmarks, certifications, verifications, nothing to refer to, references, good references. So if these things are really there, then we need a lot of integration and coordination between the stakeholders in order to provide all these things and finally set up the structure that is going to be to facilitate the financing.
Absolutely. You touched on a very important point in terms of certification standards and credible benchmarks, either on the technology performance side, minimum energy performance standards. They are there, but also you need the labels on the products. You need clarity so that the investment, the financing side, have a credibility in the what's being offered on the market. I think your hand is full, so a lot of work ahead of you, Ahmed. So if you want to say final, what is the next most important priority from the perspective of the ministry?
Well, I think we're lucky, but to say this, I think during the past few years, with the awareness that has been going on, with the roadmaps that has been coming up, I think now there is a clear understanding of why we need the data. If the data is there, the pathway will be chosen correctly. If the pathway is chosen correctly, we will get to the end of the road, and I think we will get there even faster than ever. So right now, I think we're very lucky with the momentum that we have, with the understanding, the awareness, the capacity building that is already taking place. So the data right now is much clearer, is much easier to get them. And based on that, I think the pathway will be much easier and much faster in the near future. So I think we came in a very lucky time, to be honest.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Ahmed. And I think you touched on also a critical gap that was debated Also, in the last 2 days, in some of the sessions I was participating in, the importance of having robust, solid monitoring verification framework, better data on embedded carbon and end products, manufactured products, building capacity in industry to report on this. So this would actually enable us to take more robust and more ambitious policy decisions. I think this brings us to a conclusion of our session. I think it's a wonderful journey that we have had and a wonderful partnership that we started with the Egyptian government and Egyptian industry and all the partners over the last 10 years. A lot of learning happened. We cannot go through all of them, but I think there is a strong foundation to build on and move forward. I think Egypt is in a well-positioned place to demonstrate leadership on pushing industry, creating the market incentives and the framework for industry to leapfrog to net zero economy by 2050. As Engineer Fathi mentioned, 2050 seems too far, but it's not too far. We used to think that 2020 was too far. We already passed it, so there is very little time, and so we need to move forward. We are so grateful to the opportunity to work together with the Ministry of Industry in Egypt and all the partners to do this together, and we look forward to continue a strong partnership with all of you and for successful industrial transition. So thank you very much. Join me in thanking the panelists, and I thank you for also being with us. Thank you very much.